me, it's really a lousy repeat of an old movie. The sequel's as bad as the original. And that's what they're doing. That's the outrage of WikiLeaks. And why aren't they going after the New York Times? Why aren't they going after the Guardian and their Spiegel? Why not? Why? They're printing this stuff. Why go after this guy? And I read all the information that's come out. You know what the charges are when you read these so-called rape charges?
Yeah, he had sex without a condom. I mean, this is classic feminism. And then both the women, especially one of them, have worked for high-level CIA operations in Cuba. I mean, and this is a complete setup.
And who could make this stuff up? I mean, it's like a Disney story, you know. Snow White had sex with the 7 dwarfs and they didn't use a condom? I mean, come on. We're fighting. Okay. We're in immoral wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Hey, how about sending predator drones into sovereign countries and killing, quote, suspected militants? Did anybody ever hear of extrajudicial killings? How about going to war for fake reasons? There is no weapons of mass destruction. There were no ties to Al-Qaeda, and there's Bush out there hawking his book, and they're busting a guy for not using a condom.
Well, it gets worse. I mean, Bush.
But that's the level of what we're talking about, who these people are, and it's being exposed, and they don't like it.
Well, you're right, and Bush. We got the White House memos. We got the memos from John Yoo and Attorney General Gonzalez, where they ordered the torture, and it said, including crushing children's genitals with pliers. I'm sorry to have to talk about that. The Army's own report admitted children being sexually abused with battery acid. Folks, you can't make this up. In fact, I'm not going to say the rest of it on air. Against these children to make their parents give false confessions. They send the sadists to prison as scapegoats once they get caught. Then Bush comes out twice this year and says he ordered torture, he'd do it again, but he's not in prison. So he's like the Gambino crime boss. And meanwhile, his soldiers have been caught carrying out criminal operations. They go to prison, and the crime boss comes out on TV and says, I ordered it, and he doesn't get in trouble. I mean, this is so brazen.
Well, that's what's going on. As I said, the police have become the enforcers for the crime bosses. They're above everybody else. I watched Bush give some of those interviews. You know, he's from royalty. Oh, the great Bush family. Hey, what was that? The great-grandfather, the grandfather's name, Prescott Bush?
Yeah, top Nazi.
Wasn't he doing deals with the Nazis?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, come on with this stuff. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks. I've said it, and that's what it is. They're robbing us. This is the greatest bank robbery in world history, and the banks are doing the robbing. And when we were talking about the crime wave, by the way, look at the security business. It's booming. You call up and try to get alarms installed, you're going to get on a waiting list. And it's going to get a lot worse. If people want to see the businesses to get into, boy, anything having to do with crime-related security is going to be a growth industry.
Well, look at firearms. Record sales in modern history for 2 years in running. And you look at the graphs, it's only going up parabolic. Now, I want to shift gears into some other areas. And I can't say this on air. We never used to talk about things like this, but it's always in the news. We're forced to. This is up on prisonplanet.com. KOB, CBS TV's reporting it. It's up on prisonplanet.com. These reports have been confirmed. They make fun of other TSA workers' genitals, female workers. They're hiring a bunch of lunatics because only a mentally ill person could put people in radiation bathers, stick their hands down people's pants. They're creating an army who will follow any order to then take over the streets. But here's the prisonplanet.com Steve Watson article. Just went up at prisonplanet.com. Boy asked TSA, why pat down my mom and not me? TSA replies, and they have witnesses, because you don't have B word. And and I've seen this, where they see a good-looking woman, it is over. These are men that could never get a woman, many of them. Some of them are just guys that want jobs. And they've been caught being child molesters, planting drugs on women, demanding sex. I mean, these are the worst type of power-tripping, low-grade morons. What is your take on the whole TSA situation, Gerald Celente?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for doing all that you have done to expose this. Nobody in the United States anywhere has done more to show what's going on than you have, about breaking it down piece by piece, from that little weasel shirt off, the former Homeland Security czar, going out after the so-called Christmas Day bomber was going to explode his underwear, and making the rounds on the major media and telling us that we needed these full-body X-ray machines, not ever divulging that Chertoff Group was the consulting firm for Rapid Scam that sells these things. So you've done more than anybody. And what this is so important about, it's one of those elements in the coming Second American Revolution, because we know we're getting robbed by the bankers. A lot of us know that these wars are immoral and that we're wasting trillions of dollars fighting them. And it comes out of our paychecks. But what we know, it's removed. But when you go to the airport and you're humiliated in front of huge crowds, it's a different story. When you go to the airport and you're subjugated to such behavior, and it's really, from a man's standpoint or a woman's, there's nothing more to subjugate somebody than to tell them that I could grope you and feel you up and do whatever I want, and you can't do anything about it.
And they yell at you. They put you in boxes. I mean, the goons doing it don't know why they're doing it, but the social engineers know this is an act of submission. This is learning how to be a prisoner. I mean, I haven't been in jail a lot, but I was in juvenile a couple times for really, fights where they didn't know who'd started it, so everybody goes to jail. I've been in jail from protest. And I wasn't treated this bad in jail as you're treated in an airport.
And you got it. It's a form of submission. So here's what they do. First, they take your money. And they tell you, you're taking your money and I'm giving it to my big friends. So they knock you down like that. And now they knock you down again by... I'm coming back from Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. I'm sitting next to an 82-year-old woman. She reminded me of my Aunt Zidzi, may her soul rest in peace, big chubby face. She got frisked because they found needles in her luggage. She's a diabetic. She said, why are you doing this to an old lady? They were doing it right out in front of everybody, feeling her up. And she demanded that they take her into a private room. They forced this poor old lady to walk across the floor, this filthy floor, without her shoes. They made her leave her shoes behind. What they're doing, Alex, is they're breaking us down, bit by bit by bit. And then they got the goon squads out there. You go over that yellow line, you go 5 miles over the limit, you have 2 drinks and you're a fraction over the line, you're treated like a criminal. But the big guys get all the breaks. Look at that guy, Elliot Spitzer. There is nothing more in-your-face arrogance.
I mean, for those that don't know, he put a law in place to throw the book at people that, visit hookers. And I'm not condoning it, but I mean, come on, increasing the law on something nonviolent and consensual, then he gets busted, and now he gets a TV show.
Exactly. And not only does he get busted and have a TV show, he spends thousands on hookers, and he's not prosecuted for the crime that he put in place. There is, what the word justice means? Just us, not them.
Gerald, we've only got about 7-8 minutes left with you. Powerful intel today. Now, there's so many issues to cover here, but we know what tyranny is. It's when control freaks get into power and go wild, and they think they're invincible until they push it too far. You say 2011 is off with their heads. What else do you see trending that we haven't talked about coming up in 2011 into 2012?
Some of the positive things, but there's a negative side to it because what's going on is there's going to be a fortune in food. There's going to be a strong demand for high-quality foods. Eggs that you can really eat that don't come from Auschwitz farms, these chicken coop concentration camps. It's going to be a huge trend. Another one, student revolts. This is going to be big. It's going on already.
You said that 3 years ago, and it's now happening this year in California, Europe.
Yeah, throughout Europe, Italy, Ireland, England, Greece. Again, Spain, they have an unemployment rate of 18 to 26-year-olds at about 50%. You think these guys are going to start taking to the streets and becoming involved in crime? Student revolts and cyber wars. A big year for cyber wars. And by the way, one of the other trends that we're writing about that you're on the forefront of is journalism 2.0. What you do, what we do at the Trends Journal, this is the new journalism that people are going to be tuned into rather than watching these shills and suck-ups on these shows from mainstream media. And now the fight is going to be between closing down the internet, as you keep pointing out, or letting freedom ring. So those, and this whole citizen journalism is going to be a huge trend because just as they're watching us, now we're watching them. People have their cell phone cameras. People are taking videos and recording things that they never wanted exposed before.
Oh, that's key. That's why they're pushing so much now in 9,000 locations to get us to spy on each other, because they don't want us to start surveilling and watching and exposing them. They want us all divide and conquer.
Exactly, and that's what the WikiLeaks is about. It's exposing them. The emperors have no clothes. Sarkozy, Merkel, Berlusconi, Obama. You go down the line, all of those stands, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, one stand criminal after another. You read this stuff, you can't make it up. So that's the fight. The fight is to stop exposing them and to push us into submission. We don't think it's going to happen, and the major trend is going to be it's the wake-up call. The revolution has begun. Oh, by the way, you're also going to hear a lot of chatter for the end of the world, a lot of that Mayan prophecy, Armageddon stuff. And guess what? What's going to be going on in 2011 is going to make it feel as though the world's going to come to a collapse in 2012. Oh, by the way, there's those other little things. The wars in Korea, they're not going to go away either. And believe me, nobody's going to stop North Korea. If they keep pushing them, they're going to bomb Seoul out of oblivion. They're not that far away, and they have the weapons to do it. And watch Iran. And as we're seeing with these WikiLeaks, another one. The so-called UN nuclear arms inspectors caught on tape being reported from the U.S. Embassy that he's partial to the United States and he doesn't like the Iranians.